special meeting we did.
Special call meeting? Kent said we didn't, so that's when I was going by that. What we're discussing in there, he said we
Special
really
call
didn't.
meeting, it's gotta have four.
It's a fine line on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's a fine line.
Yes, me too. I like the thick lines like
I bet you didn't wear your jacket, did you? Look at that.
I didn't need it, I'm not cold. I got it into my truck.
See, you told me I better have that, so here it is right here.
I said you better know it.
I know it.
Good, that's good that you got it, Tom. This is,
That is the whole book. It's got everything in it.
yes, there it has. There it is. You have to turn it on. Yeah. I don't turn it on until close. No, we've always before we do a test run before everybody gets here. Yes, because the UT people, they have to hear us. Because I mean, I talk loud, but everybody can hear me. But the people in here.
I got some English toffee in the back.
I saw you up there chewing. I knew you were busted.
Mine's turned down, but it's.
That's my dinner.
They can do that. Because I just have always.
Sheree's over at the church.
Did she?
It always feels like I'm yelling at people.
Your two on the far end showing up tonight?
Oh,
Now they're out.
Yeah.
well, at least
Yeah.
Richard won't be here. Richard's on a cruise. He doesn't come back till tomorrow.
Cruise. Oh, poor thing. Sorry for him at all.
I'm thinking he went too early. I asked them a question. They never did answer me. TMO.
when did you ask?
2 weeks ago?
Yeah. Come on in. Okay, we're gonna turn the mics on now, so we have to be nice and not say anything about you while you get on there. All
The
right.
mic has anything to do with that.
I can't talk about people now. And that's the guy from MRB. The good-looking guy.
Huh? No.
The good-looking
I'm like, I've never heard Linda say, talk about.
I keep forgetting the mic's on. I gotta be careful.
No.
Yep, we're live.
We had to have four before we even had the meeting.
Executive session,
No,
a meeting. Oh, this is a special. Yeah, see, I keep thinking about that. I keep thinking
That's
it's a
right, it's
regular
not-
meeting, but it's a special call meeting.
Because of the
So where's
holiday.
Mr.
every time you have a special call meeting, you gotta have at least four.
For a city council meeting, or does
Yes.
she take up one of the four?
I wonder where Cecil is.
You give him a holler there and I'll message him. You call him, I'll message.
This might be a short meeting altogether.
Yeah. I thought y'all, we've been through this before.
Oh, let that be him.
Hope it is.
Yep, may have to reschedule this till after the 22nd.
Okay, I sent him a message.
He's calling him on the phone too.
Yeah, I told him I'll message him. You call him.
Did anybody check with them and let them know that we had to have them here?
He knew.
He's
knew.
okay? He's okay. He's okay. He's coming. All right,
He's
good.
coming? Horse is running a little slow.
He's just slow.
Okay, we normally start right at 6 o'clock, but we're waiting on one more council member, and he should be here shortly, so we're gonna be running just a little bit late getting off to the races here. I know it. And you know him when he walks in, get him. You just trip him.
Everybody turn around and look at him.
He'll just grin. He won't care.
Don't tempt me.
I always tell everybody, just cheer when they walk in the door.
Yeah. Yay, you made it.
Turn it off. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I can talk secrets.
Chit chat.
For chit chat.
The company I work for was this global engineering company, but they were owned out of Australia. And all of their benefits were Australian style benefits. And so they gave me, I got maternity for 6 weeks paid, where they just said, you disappear for 6 weeks, paid full time, to go like be with your kids
Cecil's here now.
Okay. We'll give him time to get in his seat before I holler.
Before you holler, get up.
I'm standing up now, you might as well just.
Nah, I want you to sit down first. All right. It is now 6:08 on Thursday, the 21st of December. This special called meeting is now in session. People at home are watching this on YouTube, and if you have a phone, please mute it or turn it off. That's, you know, I just got through doing mine because I have had it ring during a meeting, so I try to remember to let everyone know about it. Okay, so I also want to let you know that if you'd like to address anybody that wants to speak tonight or is here on a special thing, or if you want to address the council, please come to the mic and ask your opinions, you know, or your questions. If for some reason you can't walk to the mic, we will bring a mic to you. If you have a question, you need to do this, please, because it is for the citizens at home that cannot be here tonight, and they have to hear us from YouTube, and they'll tell us, hey, we couldn't hear so-and-so, what was that about? You know, so if we use a mic, they know what it's about. And I guess I need to get closer to my mic, even though I'm loud. Everybody in here can hear me, but they can't hear me at home. I'm not quite that loud. We are going to try our best to close this and clear the city hall within 5 minutes of adjournment tonight. We welcome you to stay outside in the rain tonight and visit as long as you want. Sorry for any inconvenience. We are all tired after a meeting and want to go home. We are planning to do this at every meeting. Thank you, from the employees of Bruceville-Eddy. Okay, and and that all said, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I figured we'd have more people, but the weather as it is, I can understand why they're not, and it's close to the holidays, so a lot of people are out of town and stuff, but for you that did make it tonight, I thank you very much. If y'all would please stand for our prayer, please. Let me get my mic out here. As it is said in Luke 1:31 through 33, and behold, you will conceive a son, and you shall call him Jesus. He will be great, and will be called the Son of the Most High. And the Lord God will give to him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over the house of Jacob forever, and for his kingdom there will be no end. Lord, we thank you for the birth of Jesus. We thank you because of his birth. We have access to a personal relationship with you and a true and assured hope. Jesus' birth changed everything for us all. We have acknowledged that Jesus is the King of all kings, the Lord of all lords. We thank you for all that you do for us. May the love of Christ be with us and our families this Christmas. We just want to praise your name, Lord Jesus. Amen. You may have a seat. Oh, no, we got to do the pledge, don't we?
Just testing.
Just checking to see if y'all are alert out there. All right, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas.
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God and one indivisible. Thank you. Y'all may have a seat now. Okay. Tonight we have a few people on roll call. I'm going to start over to my left up here, and we got Councilman Ricky Wiggins, Mayor Pro Tem Graham McGrewer. We got Kent Manton, our city administrator. And to my right, I have Councilperson Joyce McLaughlin and Councilman Cecil Griffin. Out in our audience, we have a lady that is with USDA, a community program specialist, Texas Rural Development, United States Department of Agriculture, Ms. Terry Chenoweth. We have Johnny Tabor. He's the PE president of Tabor and Associates. And then we have Chris Hill, his right-hand man. I didn't know what your title was, or how to give it. Okay. And in the back, we have Gene Sprouse. He's our Public Works Director. Thomas Arnold is our Community Development. Chief Michael Dorsey, our Police Chief. Pam Combs, our City Secretary. Ardman Hunt, he's the MRB Group, right out there. Ryan Dicker, Emergency Management Coordinator, is over there on the end. And then we have Don Minnis, am I saying that right? He's the SKE Electrical Engineer. Okay, and that's all we have, unless I missed somebody. If I did, I apologize. Okay. Community announcements, do we have any tonight? Does anybody have any community announcements they'd like to share, except for tomorrow night, Saturday night, we have in our Blue Santa, well, maybe I'm speaking too bad, that should be your say, Chief. I'm gonna let you tell that, never mind. And then we have another one, huh?
Sure. Yeah, Mayor,
Okay.
just a couple for me here.
Yes.
The county, McLennan County, is asking for your opinion if you're a resident. You should have seen on some of your seats there a little survey that you can scan with your phone, or you can go to the link that's provided. They're just looking to do some more with open space, recreation throughout the county. So they're just asking for you to fill out a survey. It's pretty brief. I did one. So shouldn't take up much of your time, and they value your input. And the city offices will be closed for Christmas and New Year holidays, December 22nd, 25th, 26th, and January the 1st.
Okay. All right, Chief, you want to talk about Blue Santa? What you're doing?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Move this mic up a little bit.
Oh, hell yeah. That was with a fix for Joyce.
Sorry. Hey, I'll own it. I will. I'm short.
But yes, ma'am. Saturday, December 23rd from 6 to 9, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., we're having our Blue Santa. I just wanted to start out and say, wow. You know, we have had an incredible response, not only for people asking for assistance, but providing assistance and giving donations. I mean, it is literally breathtaking if you walk in our office right now and see all the things that we have been given. So I'm very thankful, and I thank everyone that has contributed to this event. We had 60 kids sign up from the school, and most of them had specific items. And we have fulfilled all of those, and then probably about 15 more. So I think we have a total like 75 kids that we're helping out this year.
How many's coming to your dinner?
Probably close to 60.
60 people.
And I hope we have that and then some.
Yes.
Because we're not going to turn anybody away. Whether you're participating in the Blue Santa or not, you can still come out and have a meal. It's free, and we're not going to turn anybody away. So if they want to come, they're more than welcome. And I'll even, I know we have some shut-ins, but we'll even make them a meal, and I'll take it to them. Whatever we have to do to let the community know that we care about them and we want to do something for them. So, with this being the first time and having this kind of response, I can see this, getting bigger and better every year. So we're going to do it every year.
Yes, sir.
You can count on that. And we started early. I think we started putting this out in September. So that's what we're going to do from now on. We're going to start early, and the more we have, the better we'll be. So I want to help as many kids as we can, as many families as we can. So I think it's going to be a great event. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yes, sir.
So,
We
but
thank you
I
for doing
welcome
this.
anyone that wants to come out, any of the city staff, council, anybody that wants to come. I'd love to see y'all there, and we're going to have a great time.
Okay. Thank you,
So-
Chief. Well, we appreciate you for doing this. We really do. Thank you. It's helping a lot of
Thank you.
people. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, any more announcements that we have out here?
I have one.
Okay.
Bethany Fellowship is having a chili fundraiser on January 13th at the Senior Center. It's over behind Eagles Landing. Most locals know about it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay.
Is that okay?
Nobody else has any more announcements for this coming up? Okay. All right. We'll move right along. Citizens' presentations. This is, it welcomes the public to comment on points that is not specifically on the agenda. And they have 5 minutes to speak and tell us what is on their mind without any response from us or any citizen. Do we have anyone that has signed up? Ms. Pam? Okay, moving right along. Okay, number 4, WMCEM Planning Presentation, Total Solar Eclipse. Council to hear a presentation from Ryan Dirker from Energy Management Coordinator.
All righty, Mayor Owens, Council, good evening. As previously mentioned, my name is Ryan Dirker, and I serve as the Emergency Management Coordinator for the Waco-McLennan County Office of Emergency Management. Always good to be back out in Bruceville-Eddy. I appreciate y'all having me this evening. So what we're here to do this evening is to run through a presentation that I've been given to a lot of different folks over the last couple of months that deals with the upcoming total solar eclipse that will be making its way through McLennan County in April. Where we've been to this point, I've been given this presentation all over the place to various different groups who were interested in it. The genesis of this really was, I meant to give it to 3 groups originally. Internal City of Waco folks, McLennan County employees, and then school districts, chambers of commerce, and other private sector partners, and it's kind of spread since then. So what this presentation is a series of case studies that dealt with different jurisdictions of various sizes all over the country the last time there was a total solar eclipse that went through the continental US, which was in 2017. And it's an interesting point. I've been answering a lot of questions from people over the last couple of months about this, because some of the statistics you'll see in these case studies of what certain jurisdictions experienced are quite jarring. And I will preface that by saying that we really kind of don't know what this is going to look like. It could be the biggest deal in the world, or it could be no big deal at all. But from our lens through emergency management, I think it behooves us to be as prepared as we can for the worst possible eventuality, and if something ends up being less than that, well then so much the better. If y'all have any questions during the presentation, y'all just holler them out and we'll take them one at a time. We're happy to do that. Yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and get going. Actually, before we do that, a couple of disclaimers. This presentation is in no way, shape, or form meant to try to dictate policy to anybody. Y'all know what's going on best in your communities a lot more than we do. We would never come in here and try to tell you your business. That's not what we're about. It's simply to present you the information of what happened to communities, some of them of similar size to you, and then you make your own decisions based off that. We remain available for any consultative work you might need of us. Again, from your perspective, we serve as the county emergency management team, but wanted to do that real quick. So here's the macro of what this is going to look like. April 8th of 2024, it's a Monday. The path of the eclipse as it makes its way through the continental US. Now it's important to recognize why this is such a big deal, especially around here, because the last time a total solar eclipse touched Texas, it was the early 1800s. So you're talking about a multi-generational event. People who are really into astronomy, big science nerds, are really into this. And I can tell you that because I am one. If I wasn't doing this in the response side, you better believe I'll be out in the field someplace, maybe in your town, watching this. In the micro, this is what we're dealing with around here. Anything in between those 2 yellow lines, the eclipse will be significantly visible. That green line is the sweet spot, as it were. And it comes right through McLennan County. Not necessarily Bruceville-Eddy, but McLennan County all the same. Full eclipse duration, meaning the amount of time that the moon will be in front of the sun. In the city of Waco, we're going to be about 4 minutes and 13 seconds. Y'all are close enough where it's going to be around the same sort of time. It's important to recognize that the effects that you'll see from other communities in 2017, their eclipse duration was about half as long. They had about 2 minutes and 45 seconds. I do apologize. They had about 2 minutes and 45 seconds of totality. To illustrate some terms, totality is simply a fancy way of saying the amount of time that the moon is in front of the sun. So here's the path. If you can go ahead and click that play button real quick, what we're dealing with as it makes its way across the state of Texas. You'll notice that as the eclipse moves further north, it actually speeds up down into the bottom left there. It's way off to the left now. So if you bring it back right, you should find it. Now you're down low. All right. And we're off. You'll notice as it moves further north, it actually picks up speed. There's a lot of scientific reasons about that, but it explains why the further north it gets, the less time, from our perspective, that the moon will spend in front of the sun. So you're dealing with the eclipse entering McLennan County sometime around 1:37 p.m., making its way through the county, and finally clearing west sometime around 1:43. So we're not dealing with a super long time, but this event will attract quite the throngs of people. So y'all can go ahead and advance the slide if you would, or I can do that, but if you want to pause that, let's see if, could you hit escape on the computer and see if it goes forward? This slide was always tricky, sorry. When you click the video, it doesn't recognize that you're in the presentation mode. I've been messing with it all week and can't figure out how to do it. I do apologize.
Can you shoot that power?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. All right. So here's the meat and potatoes of what we all came here to do. The experiences and lessons learned from the 2017 eclipse. This was the macro of the path it took, starting up in Washington State and ending up on the coast of South Carolina. Newberry, South Carolina. You'll notice there, anywhere in between the two blue lines, it was visible. The red line was the sweet spot that time. The greatest duration of eclipse was someplace in Tennessee, and the greatest eclipse was in Kentucky. So the amount of, and you'll notice that the yellow stars are where these jurisdictions are. So some of them are real close to where all the action was. Some of them were real far away. That's important to keep in mind. So Newberry, South Carolina has a population of about 30,000 folks. They did host a 3-day Eclipse Fest, but you'll see they doubled their population. An estimated 30,000 visitors came into their town. A large number of those people were from Europe. I think we can expect that again. The suggestions, this presentation was originally modified from a presentation that was given to by the Killeen Chamber of Commerce. So you'll see a lot of business type suggestions that came from them. But those were Newberry's suggestions for their eclipse. Marion, Illinois, in the southern part of the state, again, about 17,000 folks. They didn't do any events of any sort. They prepared a little bit, but then they saw 50,000 people in a town of 17,000 people. That's almost a tripling of their everyday population. Their hotel rooms completely full, restaurants completely full. Day of the event, people wanted to be in their spots, but I think it's reasonable that people are going to want to go to their spots a couple of days in advance. Farmland was used for viewing sites, so I think that's particularly interesting for this community. Any place where there's a field and a view of the sky, there's potential for having campers. Enterprising individuals who own land may open it up and start charging spaces. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a good way to make some money. But as a community, I think it's important that we think about what our responsibilities is as a city government to maintain health and safety for the people who are out there doing those sorts of things. And at the end of the event, the 5-hour drive, I assume, to Chicago took about 18 hours. This is particularly interesting because on the scale of potential problems, from the least likely to occur to the most likely to occur, I think a log jam on 35 is probably the most likely. That's going to be, I think, the number one thing that impacts the members of this community. It's bisected by 35, and what does it look like for everybody that in the middle of their Monday, it's essentially a parking lot. Both in the city of Waco and within McLennan County and the Sheriff's Department, we're having internal meetings on what we can do, if anything, to try to mitigate the various problems out on the highway. So these aren't all pictures of Marion's traffic, but they are all pictures of 2017 Eclipse traffic. So as you can see, it's a very, very real thing. So Marion's Chamber of Commerce was fairly specific, right? And that's one of the things we don't know. We know folks are coming, but we don't know what the impact is going to be. So we literally have to be ready for anything. Baker City, Oregon, on the complete opposite side of the country from where you would think that the prime viewing site would be. Same story. Very small community, almost doubling their population. Parking lots full. People were showing up days in advance. A lot of folks slept in their vehicles. I think we can count on that. A lot of outdoor camping in the days leading up to our eclipse. Their various suggestions for their businesses were as listed. Grand Island, Nebraska. About 52,000 people, again, 50,000 visitors. They did a 3-day event around the eclipse. Hotels were charging 3-night minimums. They had a lot of action in their Walmart. Large parking lots with folks who can stay usually do. It's something to, I think it's important to recognize that if we have the ability, emergency management would always recommend hosting controlled events if possible, because people who are congregated in one area are easier to look after rather than running amok all throughout the community. So if it's possible to congregate them into some sort of, we'll call it semi-controlled environment, that's always better policy, we think. Clarksville, Tennessee, closer to the sweet spot. Larger population, so larger than the city of Waco, 174,000. Didn't do a lot of planning, but they probably should have, because the restaurants were full for 4 days. Visitors were showing up 2 to 4 days ahead of campgrounds, hotels full, traffic jams, businesses slammed. It's the same story over and over and over again. So I think we can, the more jurisdictions we see of various sizes, the big and the small, they're all having similar issues. I think that's important for us. Carbondale, Illinois is similar to Waco in the fact that it's a college town, but significantly less population. And again, the same story, around 50,000 folks showing up days in advance. Interesting enough, Carbondale is also in the path of this eclipse, so they're going to get it again. Looking up the things, they do have a website that they're running about the things they've done, the things they're doing, and it's rather interesting to check out. So you keep seeing the 50,000 number, and so to put that number in context, that's a little less than a full McLean Stadium. So if you can picture that, McLean Stadium's full capacity is just a little bit more than 45. So if you get 100,000 people, that's 2 Baylor games running around. And finally, Columbia, South Carolina. This isn't incredibly applicable to this community because for a lot of reasons. Columbia is a large, kind of leafy state capital. It's a large tourist industry, and this is kind of the nightmare scenario. Richland County, where Columbia rests, has a population of about 416,000. They almost doubled their county population. Over 120 events throughout the city of Columbia, South Carolina, dealing with baseball games to things at museums to all manner of things. Important or interesting facts here, $48 million in economic impact, 80% of their ticket sales for their events were from out of state. So folks will travel. It's not just the greater Waco community or even the Austin and Dallas community coming. They're coming from all over the place. the largest economic impact in the history of the city of Columbia, South Carolina. The Revolutionary War went through Columbia, South Carolina, so that's saying something, that they felt that that was the largest economic impact in their city's history. So what can we expect in the local community? Our hotels will be full. Economic impact, it will be intense. Your parks will be full. Every space that people can look at the sky, I think you can expect them to be. We're particularly worried about fuel shortages. What happens if several extra thousand people hitting small rural gas stations at the same time, what that looks like, your banks, your credit unions, those sorts of things. Again, maybe nothing, but it's, if you go down the rabbit hole of potential things that could be wrong, it kind of expands from that. So the question that we've been asking is, what are we as the responsible parties doing to protect the lives of our residents who have to live here every day? These were pictures from the last time in various places. There's some money to be made. I see all the folks with land going,
Yeah.
Madras, Oregon is a very small community as well, so that's, kind of what that looks like. I think we can expect a lot of that all throughout the county.
Open your.
So it was said to us to be prepared to receive up to 5 times your everyday population. I think that's a bit extreme. However, I think any countywide, and even a doubling in a place like McLennan County that's not exactly a tourist hotspot might be extreme, but I think 100,000 extra people countywide is within the realm of possibility. We will have better information after the new year, but as of a couple of months ago, there was only double-digit hotel rooms left within the city of Waco. Most of those were going for $450 a night. Think of the worst hotel you can think of along 35. It probably has a 3-night minimum of $400 a night. Short-term rentals, if you check that weekend, are going in the thousands. So the folks are coming. I think that's what that data spells out to us, that this is an interesting event for our community, and people are going to be spending their time in our community. So the question is, what does your McLennan County look like with 250,000 extra people in it tomorrow? And what does that look like from a response angle, from a sustainability angle? What can we do to accommodate even a fraction of that coming through this community?
Stock up on toilet paper, because it'd be like the COVID, it'd all be gone.
So one of the things that the Office of Emergency Management has been suggesting to folks that ask that same sort of question, and if you're ever asked this question, to avoid panic buying, there's a very easy way to do this. Every time you go to the grocery store, buy 1 extra of whatever you get, and do that each time. So in the months that you lead up, now you're stocked up on water, and you're stocked up on the things that you may need. Again, this isn't going to be Armageddon. It's folks coming in for a week to stare at the sky, and then they leave. But there is impacts with that. And it's not all doom and gloom. There's some money-making opportunities to be had for those who wish to pursue them in communities of all different sorts of size. And again, this is just sort of the things that we brainstormed off the top of our heads. If people want to do things, great. If they don't, also fine. But those are sorts of things that other communities have done, or I can tell you that the city of Waco is having a series of events in one of their parks, and also the big event, as it were, is at McLean Stadium, not in the stadium itself, but on the grounds. The Discovery Channel and the Lowell Observatory will be there. That event has already sold hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of tickets, and is going to be quite well attended. The city in and of itself, I think they have City of Waco has a glow run plan, has a concert plan, has a couple of other things to try to collect people in the downtown corridor. For communities of this size, though, something that's real easy to think about, your solid waste. What does collection look like, not only for residents, but for commercial folks and things of that sort? Potential jurisdictional issues, these aren't all things that happened. These are just kind of the things that we thought up off the top of our heads that might impact a jurisdiction. Take it for what it's worth. The point of this slide is really to kind of just get you thinking about if any of these things at all have a potential to affect your jurisdiction. And if they don't, fantastic. But if it kind of gets the mental motor going, then that's for the best. So what are we doing about it as OEM? As I mentioned before, we have started a series of meetings with various stakeholders, and that is what I am doing here this evening. This is the same presentation I give to other jurisdictions within the county. The only difference between the one I gave the city was that it had specific city numbers, and it went through their departments and things of that sort. But the bulk of the information is the same. Over the next several months, we are going to be having other meetings, so it's kind of like the first one we invited several of y'all folks to, and I do appreciate y'all coming. It made a big difference. Your support is what matters in these sorts of things, because none of us can do this by ourselves. That's incredibly important, and this jurisdiction has an important role to play as kind of the southern guardian of this county. So we were going to have further such meetings as the event gets closer. The more meetings we have, the more tactical in nature they will be. We've presented the information now into the big, the why, or the what rather. And so now we need to get into the weeds of what we're actually physically doing about it to the extent that we can. In January, as I mentioned, I'm going to pull the report from the Waco Visitors Bureau about hotel numbers and things like that. But in the short term, if you're ever curious about it, if you do have short-term rentals in your community, go check what they're going for on April 8th right now on that weekend on Airbnb. You'll be very surprised. Does anybody have any questions? Threw a lot at you.
Is there any questions from anyone? Have any questions? One thing we can say, they are coming. I mean, we can't stop it. They are coming, and it's going to be overwhelming, I'm afraid. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, no, sir. Go ahead.
Very good. Thank y'all.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
for coming, sir.
Yeah, do we have anybody from the council that would like to talk about anything about what we might be wanting to do, or discussions that we might want to pick up, or, Pam brought up a good question the other day that we might ought to talk to our local restaurants. I want to say, hey, make sure you got plenty of staff and plenty of food, because it's probably going to, dollar store and everything's probably going to get emptied out. But anybody else have any suggestions or?
I think that we need to maybe get a committee, okay, to include the community in that committee. So maybe some of the restaurant owners and some of the businesses around here, see if they would be willing to be part of that.
Yes, sir.
City council members, city administrators and that. So we can get a collaboration, but we can also form a plan, because this is giving us a whole lot of information, but we really need somebody to put it all together and put it in motion. So we need to get the chief involved, maybe have the chief on that committee and stuff like this. So we're covering all the bases. I can see some things that are going to be of concern. Water is going to be one of them. Electricity is going to be another. You're going to be tapping, if you double our population in here, electricity is going to be tapped. And you have Waco and everybody else is being tapped. So we need to, what are we going to do if we lose electricity? So we need a committee to do that.
Yeah, that's true, because also the septic system that we have in the restaurants and stuff is going to start getting overwhelmed and stuff. But yeah, we need to form a committee of some kind. I agree. Mr. Wiggins? Oh, excuse me.
I was also thinking that time of year we have our Spring Fest, and we could do our Spring Fest with the Eclipse theme.
We thought about that. Mr. McGrew, you want to talk on that since you're...
Sure. I know that Cherie has picked a date for the Spring Fest. I'm not going to speak for her. I'd rather her kind of...
That's a good idea.
I would get in touch with her and say, what have you got planned? I know she sets up, before we even do the Spring Fest, she has several meetings of those people that are involved and coordinates that, including the date. But she's already starting to generate publicity for that.
I think it would be a moneymaker, for sure.
Yeah, true, but most of the time what Cherie, and talk to me about on that part is if on our Mayfest or Springfest, excuse me, if we try to have it around that same time, then there's not going to be very many citizens. And that's what the Springfest is for our citizens. They won't come to it because it'd be too many people with their children and stuff. But, I mean, it's a good question to ask or talk. Okay, Mr. Wiggins?
Okay, I'd like to, let's put it on our next agenda, next meeting's agenda, to, where we can discuss it and possibly appoint a committee.
Yeah. And if anyone out there in the city of Bruceville-Eddy would like to be on it,
Yeah, yes, and we
Please
can put
let
it
us
out
know.
on our website of, of when we're gonna, what meeting we're gonna have it at.
Yes, sir.
And kind of a cutoff date to, if you wanna
yes, sir.
volunteer to be on that committee,
So,
us
citizens,
know.
please think about that because y'all might want to serve on this committee. Seriously. Okay. Any other questions? Any other comments? Okay. All right. We'll go to number 5. Recommendations of awards of sewer bids. Johnny Tabor.
Well, sometimes things happen you just don't really expect,
Amen.
but it did. So this past Tuesday, we opened bids for the 5 contracts for the central wastewater collection and treatment system. The city received 3 bids, on 3 of the projects. The first one was the plant. You received a bid for it. You received bids for the sewer collection system, 1 bid, and you received bids for the sewer service lines, 5 bidders. You did not receive a bid for the lift station contract, which includes 9 different lift stations. You did not receive a bid for the street paving part of the project. But just a note, when we put the collection system out for bid, we knew that the street was going to be tore up. And so we put in that bid a repair, asphalt repair. So the contractor's going to dig a ditch. He's going to fill it up with material, state base, so it can be driven over for a while till they get out of the area. And then he's going to come back and cut the asphalt on either side of it and put new asphalt in the roadway, wherever that ditch is. So to that extent, the asphalt repair is in the bid. What's not in the bid is for a contractor to go through with a mixer and mix the asphalt, the gravel, the state base, whatever's in the road completely and treat it and then compact it and put asphalt over the entire road width. So that was what the street bid included that we did not get a bid for. So this project's been going a long time. And we put it out for bid. We told the bidders what the last estimate of the project was. And I think that's the main reason we probably didn't get any bidders, is because they knew that the city didn't have enough money to do the job. It's kind of like going and talking to a house builder and saying, hey, I got this 6,000 square foot house, why don't you give me a price on, blah, blah, blah. Okay, where are you financing? Well, I'm not financing, but I got $50,000. We can get it built for that. So that's kind of where we were. As you would know, the house builder's not going to give you a price for that. He's not going to take the time to do that. And I think that's what we had in this case. But if you think about what has happened since this project started, even in the last 3 years, from 2020, we've had COVID pandemic, We've had fuel prices jump higher than they've ever jumped before. I was thinking about this here a while back, and I thought, well, okay, so what should I be looking up to see what kind of price escalation there's going to be? When I realized that most of the work that's going to be done requires a lot of one liquid, diesel. All the machines run on diesel, all the diggers run on diesel, the trucks run on diesel. So the contractors have to bid based on what their diesel price is. Well, right now it's probably higher than it's been in 10 years. So that's one aspect. But each of us individually know that if we go look to buy a new vehicle, it's not going to be anywhere close to the one that's 2 or 3 years old that you have. I got a 2016 Ford sitting out there, and it was about a $30,000, a tick over $30,000. Same truck today is $75,000. So, just saying, labor has changed. The contractors that I've talked to, not just on this job, but on the other ones, talk about how much they have to pay their laborers, to come to the job and do the work. So there was a number of reasons for it, but at the end, we received a total price of about $29 million for the project, and that price did not include the lift stations, and it did not include the paving. So I think we are way over budget. Certainly over the funds that you have commitments for. So for those that don't have the numbers right there close to you, you have $10.8 million. Part of that, 45%, 42% of that is grant money, and the rest is a loan. So if we get very far over that, maybe $5 million over that, then that's likely to result in more debt service to the city. So I think it's highly unlikely that you can expect to receive grant money to make up the difference. Not saying you don't have some contact somewhere that will plop out $20 million and they'll drop it in your plate. You might. But I don't think it's worth the effort to plan for that. So that being said, what I would like to do is I would like to back up and redesign the bids for a project that fits within the money that you have. And what I mean by that is originally when we first started working on a sewer system for Bruceville-Eddy, we looked at Eddy, and we looked at Bruceville, and we looked at Bruceville ISD, Bruceville-Eddy ISD. That was the focus of the system. Since then, it's gotten really big, and what we did was an attempt to serve everybody that's within the city limits with sewer. Even though there's some that were, I'm going to say, not cost effective. So you run a sewer line to connect two houses. Both houses are 500 foot off the roadway, and it's just a residential house. I think that might be a little rich. So, and in some cases, we have a lift station that serves 3 or 4 houses. So my thought about this is, if we want to talk about the bids and what went wrong and where it started and all that kind of stuff, we probably need to do this in a call meeting. And we can discuss it in detail, and I've got records that date back to 2006 on this. But to get a project out for bid in a timely fashion that will not jeopardize the funds that you already have committed to you. I think the best plan is to get a base bid that will come pretty close to the money that you have, and put alternate add items to it to go out and reach some customers that are further out there where you have to have a lift station. There's only 5 on the lift station. You have to have a line that goes way off somewhere, and pump it all the way back for 15 connections. To try to do those as alternate bids, so you have the opportunity to see a base bid that's closer to the money that you really have available. So, Ms. Chenoweth, what do you think?
Okay, so we've had some talks since the bidding about what the options were, and certainly, as Mr. Tabor indicated, we have already committed $10,181,000 toward the project. That was back in September of 2017. Our policy, USDA's policy, is typically we try to get those funds spent within 3 years of obligation. Well, we're well over that. And Treasury has the option of sweeping those unused funds at any time. We have been having to request waivers to Treasury and provide them with status updates on why these funds should stay in place. They have the option of doing that after 5 years of the funding commitment. So we've been successful in doing that over the years, knowing that the city has been progressing forward with getting the necessary easements and land commitments in order to do the project, and that is all done. Those hoops have been jumped through, but it's a huge cost increase, the realization of Tuesday's bid. I'm not saying that we don't have the funds to fund $20–25 million, but can the city afford to pay that? Like Mr. Tabor was saying, we can't make any type of commitment on grant funding. I wish I could make you a promise that we could do another 45% grant. The median household income of the city statutorily limits us to only putting a maximum of 45% into any project of this type. But there's other factors that we look at too, as far as affordability of the project to the city and the availability of USDA funds. Right now, we're operating under a continuing resolution. We don't have, Congress hasn't passed a budget and won't, hopefully, until January the 19th. We are able to fund projects on an as-needed basis. Congress, there's funds set aside up to a certain percentage of what our spending was last year. Can we get our money on $20–25 million in funds? Loans would be probably easier to come by than grants, but I can't say exactly what that chance would be. Our national office is being kept informed of this project and what's happening. But again, ultimately, can the city afford a $30–40 million project? Part of that may be in grant, but there's no guarantee that any more than the 5 that's already been committed as loan, any more than that would be in grant funds. So we'll wait, and when we get a decision on what the city wants to do, whether they want to go forward, we can re-underwrite it and see what the impact would be, or wait and scale it back if that's what the city wants to do, and get a base sewer system in place and, you know, grow it from there once the sewer system is established and maybe your economics, you know, you can get some businesses coming into town to help with that base. Then expand it out later. We'll be here with funding in the future as well for those expansions. Any questions?
Is there any questions? Councilman Wiggins?
Explain a little bit more about the base. When you say get a base system in, what are you talking about?
I don't exactly know right now, only because what I'm looking at is, obviously, we can't have a sewer system unless we have a wastewater treatment plant.
Right.
Johnny, would you mind speaking into the microphone just a little bit there, sir?
Not at all, sorry.
Okay.
We have to have a wastewater treatment plant. It may not need to be as big as the one we've planned, but, and there might be some parts of it that we can take alternate bids on and not do right now. So that would be part of the base bid, the base bid. Then we have to have certain lift stations in order to get the wastewater pumped up to the plant. So in the case of Eagle Drive, for instance, I mean, the school needs this as much or more than anybody else. They've got a large amount of their area that's consumed with OSSFs. So the school, I would think, needs to be on it. There are some areas in both Bruceville and Eddy that have small lots, that there's really not enough room on those lots to have a septic tank or an OSSF that actually operates properly and consistently. And so those are areas. So I don't think at this point I'm saying we're going to do this right here. I'm saying I want to get a price together for this right here and see what it looks like, and then give you a price for this and this and this and this that are all more expensive parts with fewer customers, and together see what that looks like. My thought about this is I want to sit down and work on this and bring it back to you in January, so we can look at a reduced project to see. We can still bid the same work, but we need to bid a base bid that's going to be within your money.
Okay, but the way I understand the contract with USDA, with their loan and grant money, is that everybody within the city had to be on this sewer. Now, what I'm hearing you say, we're gonna cherry pick this thing. We're gonna have some here and some over here, different phases, I guess I could say. I wanna make sure, is that right, that everybody?
That is correct. And sometimes economically, that's the way to go with things. If a project is that big, we do accept phases. And we can fund phases. So what has already been obligated can be considered the funding for what's now going to be phase one. You're reducing the scope of work, and that is an allowable thing, because the bids that came in Tuesday were so far over budget. We can allow the city to scale it back and concentrate on the I guess core areas of the city. And that's totally allowable.
With the same amount of money?
Yes, that 10 million would still be
Right.
In the
place.
smaller scale.
Right. Now, what you have to consider with that is that means that you're not going to be bringing the full 622 people on board initially. So that's going to have an effect on the debt.
Right.
If there is a slight increase when it does go out to bid, there still may be a slight cost increase, but it probably won't be $29 million worth of, cost. So we would have to re-underwrite that package again when the project went out for bid again, and we knew exactly how much that was going to cost to see what that impact would be. But as far as phasing goes and the fact that everybody has to be on the system, everybody that's affected by that phase, it would be a mandatory hookup.
It
per
sounds to
phase.
me like we're kind of backing up per se, and what I mean is, we're gonna have to go back to the drawing board with this thing, and so I can see that it's gonna be some time, more time involved, and probably more, work with USDA, paperwork and whatnot to get approved, and so it looks like we're gonna kick this can down the road pretty good ways.
I don't know what the,
I don't anticipate that. We have a set of plans right now that includes all the lift stations, includes all the
Right.
sewer lines and all the collection systems. So how can we trim that down to fit in a budget to serve a core group of people in the city, and add items for serving more if you want to?
Great. So kind of what you're talking about is take the plans that we have and more or less, we're gonna circle this right here, and this right here within this circle is what we're gonna concentrate on right now in phase one.
More or less.
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
So that'd probably be like half of the people for right now, or close, like 380, something more than likely, something like that, okay.
That's pretty close.
Mr. McGruer, you have a question?
Yeah, my,
Probably
Two-thirds of the, two-thirds of it, okay, that's good.
okay, Mr. Tabor, one of the things that I keep hearing from the people that I represent is the time. We've been playing with this for a long, long time. A lot of people were anticipating that now we're going out to bid, we're going to actually see something happen here, and now we're going to take a step back. And I know the question is going to be, how far back are we going to do this?
Not far.
You know, and that's, can you give me an idea, is this going to take another year to do all this?
I think I said, well, maybe I didn't speak in the mic well enough. I anticipate having something back to the city council that is
By
a
next.
pared down plan, keeps all the peripheral in it, locates where a central portion is that you can cost effectively serve by
January.
sometime in January.
Okay,
So
so-
then, if that's not what you want to do, and you say, no, it's either all or none, or it's a strike two, and we're still gonna swing for the fence, that's up to the council to decide.
All right.
Right.
Okay, all right, we have a question from a citizen.
Okay, after sitting here and listening to this, we're gonna have to get the main infrastructure put in first, and then work, like you said, to branch out and catch everybody else that's further outside of the main area. If we don't get the main infrastructure started, then it's not gonna work.
Right. That's true.
But I mean, I think we know that, you know, before we can get any sewer, obviously, we're gonna have to have the plan in. Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Wiggins,
But-
you have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm sorry. No, you know, I don't want to close any doors,
No,
you know, obviously, but I think maybe it's a good idea, like Johnny has, to bring it back to us in January,
smaller sections.
and they can have sections there, and then we can go from there.
Yeah,
Okay,
Johnny, Terry, I did have a couple questions on the timeline for this. So we did have the waivers for the funds, correct? We also had the waiver out for BABA. Do you think the folks in Washington DC are going to be okay extending that further for us? if we need to?
This might be a far reach, but my opinion after looking at American Iron and Steel, which is has to be in this project, and BABA, which currently does not, but might be added to it, doesn't really change the cost that much. And the reason is because the heavy hitters in the deal is iron and steel. So if you're gonna buy a toaster, you know, some of it's gotta be made in the US. If if you're gonna buy a lift station, some of it's got to be made in the US. But the big numbers are in the iron and steel that you do. So using American iron and steel, that's a chore for us, but it's not that much different than doing BABA.
I understand. Okay. All right. Mr. McGrew, you have a question?
Yeah, one of the questions I'm going to have is related to, because like I said, timeframes, people keep hitting me with timeframes, and January is great if you can bring something for a phase one project. When you're working this up, because you have the overall deal, people that are not included in phase one are going to say, well, what about me?
You're coming.
So is there something that you could speak to in January that would say, it's related to funds, but when we get funds, we've got these phases that we would be able to do this in?
I don't plan on making that decision. That's gonna be to this group right here. All I'm gonna do is present. If you wanna do this right here, you can serve 400 customers for $15 million, whatever the number is. If you wanna go out here and pick up these, you're gonna pick up another 50 customers, and it's gonna cost you another $10 million. And then y'all decide. If you wanna go out and serve somebody one way or the other, then that'll be up to y'all. I just wanna break it down into,
Yeah, you're just going to present it to us and let us make the choice.
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Right. Any other questions before, Mr. Wiggins?
You know, when I think about that, I think about the cost and the cost on each customer, I'll say. And so to me, that means where we did have, I'll just say 700, where we did have 700, now maybe we're gonna have 400. So, but the cost is gonna be less totally. But I think the cost on those 400 might be more. You understand what I'm saying? Than it would
They're
if you
monthly,
did it all.
And
Yeah.
I think Mr. Payton
Right.
kind of figured that out the other
so
day.
I would like to have, if it's possible, and I'm sure we can throw some kind of number somewhere in the ballpark. I would like to have some kind of number when we say this is what we think phase one should, this is your best guess what phase one should be right here.
To the customer.
Now, this is how many people is going to be in phase one, and this is about what it's going to cost to do phase one. Now, let's see what's it going to cost each customer.
All right.
So I would like to have that.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Manton, our city administrator, he done some figuring on some stuff like that. Would you like to?
Yes, Mayor.
elaborate
So
on that,
we
sir?
did have to submit a budget to USDA that was based off the current amount of connections and based off the total amount of loan that we have. With this redesign and reducing the amount of connections to it, it will certainly have an adverse impact on the rates that customers are going to have to pay. I would caution us to really be careful about what numbers we throw out to the public, just because we're in this process of learning and discussing what rates could be. And anytime you put information out there, you always run this risk of, oh, well, you said it was going to be about $40 a month. You said it was going to be about $50 a month. And then, staff and yourselves, council, y'all are constantly having to push back on that and say, well, no, we were just in the planning process. We were just in the talking process, and things have changed. So we can certainly run those numbers, but we need to know how many connections. We need to know what that total cost will be if there's any increases before we can really get a hard number on the monthly rate.
Well,
Okay, Mrs. McLaughlin?
That's all
Councilman
right,
Martin?
I'm new.
Okay.
You'll get used to me.
I keep wanting to say councilman.
That's okay. Like if in phase one, we make sure like the business district is taken care of first. In the main area in Eddy and the school and along the highway there, and we get new business, because I know we want a filling station, there's one that's wanting to come back, and maybe a travel center. Will that help? I don't know. Will that help on us? Because that will be more revenue coming in. So that could lower the cost for our users. Over time, I know not immediately, but over time, perhaps we could,
I wanna, I'm not gonna, at this stage, I'm not gonna worry about what is the price per customer gonna be for the service.
okay,
What I'm gonna worry about is how many construction dollars do we have to spend to get 400 customers, okay? And that comes to whatever the number is, $5,000 a customer, some number. And if we go out and we pick up another 100 out here, and it costs us $10,000 a customer to get those on it, then that tells me that they're not as cost effective as it is for a core group that is cheaper in construction dollars. And those construction dollars will actually convert to what your rate's gonna be pretty close.
well, the reason I ask, because us on the street here, that's what we get asked. They don't care about your construction cost, they care about their cost. And so it's like, you know, if we could have an answer, but I understand that, you know, we can't really guess. It's just a guess,
Yeah.
And
really.
That will be a,
I put an idea out here, and it appears that it has been received well enough. But my idea was to try to pare down the cost to get it within your budget. And I don't know that I'm gonna be able to have the user cost for the people that are in the first area and the people that are in the second area and the third area and the fourth area. I'm just trying to get the construction dollars together. If it's determined that that looks like that will work, then I think we can come back and figure out what those costs will be.
Okay.
And Mr. Tabor, you're fighting a timeline here with folks who are on the hook for bids. They're holding those bids for 60 days on the projects that they have bid on. And then we've also got holidays to consider in here as well. So you're talking about just getting the bare minimum work done to be able to represent this in budget,
Yes.
correct?
I don't think we can use any of the bids that we received.
Okay, so they're all out at this
because
point.
that's for the whole,
So because they were so much over the amount of money that was available, we didn't really have any alternates set out in there. We were just swinging for the fence. And so at this point, my opinion is that the bids need to be rejected, and we need to come back with a reduced phased project for the money that you have.
yeah, because that one bid was $20 million, basically,
Right.
you
yeah.
know, and we got 10. So, yeah, I understand. Okay, any other questions before we move on?
Just to be, and I know you know, and we've all touched on it, and I'm all for, let's go see what this phase is. But just to be clear, what I'm not for is, let's do this phase one, and then we'll tell them what it's gonna cost them. No, I'm not for that. Well, what I'm for is being transparent and finding out somewhat close. We should be able to find out a close figure and letting the people know this is what we think it's gonna cost in phase one. Not let's do it and then tell them, here's what it's gonna cost you.
Yeah,
No,
no,
I'm not for that.
What he's gonna do is just, if I'm under the understanding, he is just gonna give us an estimated cost of what it's gonna cost us to do phase one. Once he gives us that estimated cost, then we can sit back and kind of figure it up, what it's gonna cost per customer for the ones in that phase one, before it's done. They will know before it's done about what it might cost. We can't tell them exactly, because we won't know that until it is done. So we might could say, okay, for 700 people, it's gonna be $35. If we're gonna do 350 people, that's $70, you know, maybe.
No, I guess
You know.
maybe I'm miscommunicating. Before we say, yes, do it,
Right, we should know something.
then we need to know the price and about what it's gonna cost everybody. I don't wanna say, yes, do it, and they start digging, Ms. Mayor, and then we say, uh-oh, now here's the total cost to the city. Now the city has to bill the customers for that to pay USDA, because USDA wants their money.
You sure? Okay, Johnny, go ahead.
All I need is
Yes.
the council to agree to try to reduce this in some manageable phases so we can talk about it
All right.
some more.
Can
Let's
I
go
make
for
a
that.
motion?
So let's,
Can I make a motion?
Just to throw it out there, we do need to have a recommendation that we reject those bids. So
Yes.
we want to go ahead and have
So
that.
I'm gonna make a complicated motion. How's that? Okay, so I'm gonna move that we reject the bids that we received and that we have Tabor and Associates go out and come back with a proposal, I guess is what it would be called, a proposal that would reflect a construction project that would be within our budget. Is that?
okay, yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Do I have a
Good
second?
enough, I know what to do, if it gets a second.
Mr. Griffin seconds it. All right, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. All right, you got it, Johnny.
Thank you, we're
Okay.
on it.
Yes, sir, Mr. Talbert?
Most of y'all know who I am. I've been involved, like Mr. Taylor has, since the beginning of the sewer, off and on. We all thought it was gonna come in way above budget, but not 29 million. And those two bids, that's another 5 or 6 million. I think Joyce hit the nail on the head. Get your main businesses in the school, up and down the interstate. That's where the business is gonna come. It's gonna help reduce the cost and bring it down a little bit at a time in time. And then you can propose to expand it as you get the funds. And the USDA are good people. They're just sometimes really slow with the government. They will still continue to help you. And she knows that's the truth. I borrowed money from them myself. I understand it. So my 2 cents worth, whatever it means. I support whatever decision you make, but I think all of you had a good suggestions. And I just hate to have to spend some more money, but I don't know what else to tell you. Either that or you do nothing, and that's not particularly acceptable for our community to have an opportunity in the future to help our city and help the school and the people. So I just want you to know that I support you.
All right, thank you, sir. We appreciate you. All right. Okay, we're going on to number 6. The repair to Goldthwaite Well, Don Menace. Groundwater, excuse me. My brain's tired. It's been a really busy week.
You're in a different city.
Yeah. Repair to groundwater well. I'll get it right in a minute, sir. All right, Don?
Yep. So
You got
my
the
name's
floor.
Don Minnis with Konetsky Engineering, and I've recently been investigating the recent motor failures at the Friendly Oaks well. We've been out there doing some investigation, wrote a engineering report, and I basically wanted to run through that report with you, let you know what our findings were, and then provide some recommendations. So first, let me say that trying to track down the cause of motor failures like this sometimes feels like trying to chase down a ghost. There's not a lot to work with, and it's very difficult to tell what happened when it happened, especially sites like this where I think you've had 5 motor failures since 2022, at the end of 2022. And it can be any number of things. Everybody likes to immediately point a finger at the electrical utility company because they're the likely culprit. You know, you get bad power. If you're not monitoring it, it's easy to say what happened here. And then they'll come back with some record saying all of our voltages and lines were consistent. But if you don't have your own record, you don't really know. You're just kind of taking their word for it. But there are any number of things on an electrical utility service that could cause motor failures. It could be anything from switching on the grid. It could be things from bad weather, which I think you experienced. We're pretty confident the first one you had was some sort of lightning event. I mean, it had a hole in the side of the well pump, which is kind of a telltale sign of a lightning overload. But when you start having motor failures where you don't really have any telltale signs, you send it into the motor shop and they just tell you it's a surge, that really doesn't tell you anything. So the first thing we did when we came and looked at the site is we looked at the electrical service, and what you had originally at the Friendly Oaks well is what's called a high-leg delta system, a three-phase high-leg delta, which just basically means that one of the phases, when you take a voltage measurement from that phase to ground or to neutral, you'll get a higher voltage than the others. These are systems that we see typically in more rural areas, and utility companies have started getting rid of them. We work with PEC Encore a lot in our designs, and anytime there's an opportunity to get rid of one of those systems, they've been doing it because it provides an off-balance electrical system, and it can cause a lot of internal wiring problems if contractors aren't paying attention to what they're doing. So one of the first recommendations that we were going to bring up, and it turns out that there was a quick availability, is to change it to what's called a Y system, three-phase Y system. So I believe that's already in the works, that's going to happen, and that provides a balanced, consistent voltage throughout the entire system and allows you to establish a much more reliable grounding system as well. The second thing that we looked at was the grounding system. And what we did is we took a number of different grounding measurements on the well site, at the electrical service, at any exposed bonding to the pressure tanks at the well, and on the utility pole, and we found a wider range of different impedances, which is basically resistance to ground, and none of them were anywhere near what the minimum NEC code calls for, much less what, there's a book called the Green Book, which industrial water plants like your own should fall under, which that recommends 5 ohms maximum impedance. I was getting readings that were in the 500 range, the 1,000 range, which tells you that you have a really, really high impedance on that plant. And if you're getting different readings throughout the plant, it says that none of the grounding system is bonded together in a way like it should be. So that was one thing that we would definitely highly recommend taking care of. The other that we investigated after that was looking at what kind of control system, and recently, because of this, a local contractor had installed a new variable frequency drive on the well, and we actually recommend that there be more of a startup and commissioning provided on that VFD control panel, because specifically VFDs on well pumps have some very, very stringent parameters that need to be set, and if they're not properly set, it can damage the motor, it can cause over temperatures and a number of different voltage issues. And so if the parameters aren't set correctly, which the well that you have out at your well site is a Franklin motor, there's a Franklin motor design manual that accurately describes what those parameters need to be. So we recommend that the VFD manufacturer come out, make sure that those settings are set accurately to ensure that that well is going to run the best way it can. A VFD is not actually the best way to run a well, to be honest with you, because it has to get up to a maximum speed very quickly in order to make sure that it's pumping that water up through that pipe. But it can be done, and they state in that manual, it can be done as long as you follow these parameters. And in the report, we kind of covered those same parameters and kind of outlined them. So the other item is surge protection. Obviously, as a part of one of the failures, the contractor put in new surge protection at the service entrance. We actually also recommend that you put surge protection on the control panel controlling the well drive as well, because you want to have surge protection as close to the overcurrent protection device that is feeding power to that well motor. So you want to get it as close as possible to that feed. So putting a new surge protection device, a 100 Ka, which we list in the report, on that VFD would also be recommended. Another item that we looked at was the cable feeding from the variable frequency drive to the well. This well is quite deep. I think it's in excess of 900 feet. And whenever you have voltage going that distance, you run into what's called voltage drop, which can cause an under voltage on the system. Now, luckily here, the utility voltage coming in was higher than we would normally see. It was in kind of the 490 range. So by the time it actually gets to the well motor, we think that it's seeing a fine voltage. The motor's rated for 460 volts, and we calculate it somewhere around 480. So we don't think that an undervoltage from the cable is an issue. So we wouldn't recommend really any upgrading on that point. So the other item that we would recommend putting in would be a power quality meter on the electrical service, which then will provide you your own measurement and data logging of what you're seeing from the utility. It'll allow you to record what's happening from the utility, and you don't have to rely on their word all the time. So if something does happen, you can send that information to a qualified company. They can take it, they can look at the wave capture, see what are the voltages, what is the current, what is the power, and if they see a huge spike coming from the utility, then you can take that to them and say, we see something happened here that came from your side, what happened? You know, so provide us some more information. And you would do that at your service entrance disconnect switch. So like I said, it's tough to really track down what's causing your motor failures, but these are just items that I think you could do in order to better protect yourself moving forward and better protect your well and keep it running smoothly.
Okay. All right. Do you have any questions? Any questions? None? Okay.
Dawn, thank you so much. I'll go into just a few slides here on my end so
Okay.
council knows the next steps we can take here. I'll skip through this. I did just want to point out, council member requested this, that we had a insurance claim received on Friendly Oaks well for the second well motor failure. This was, the hole was in the side of the equipment. TML covered it as a lightning strike. The first time that this well went down back in December of 2022, there was no issues with the outer casing of the motor. And then just as a note here, we did have a warranty approved for the Westridge motor. Jurgensen offered to compass some of those reinstallation services if it was covered under warranty, into which they did. So we are getting some cost reimbursement throughout this process, but not enough, not enough. Just some photos from some of the recent work. This is what Friendly Oaks looked like before. This was probably back in the spring. This was the soft start drive that we originally put on the motor after December 2022. We thought that would get the job done. We were severely underestimating the problem. Friendly Oaks fires back in April. These were the recent upgrades before we got this back online in August. And then this is the recent work. So the transformers were replaced on Monday. As you can see, they've switched over to the Y three-phase system. And then over here we have a CT box placed on a new power pole. Skip through all this here. So the request that we have before you tonight, we have a quote from Jurgensen Pump in the amount of $41,142. This would be to not only reset the well, but potentially purchase a new motor if that motor that's with Franklin does not come back under warranty. And this would also allow us to engage with Wallace and complete the recommendations and repairs in an amount not to exceed $6,000. So that's the motion I'm requesting from you tonight, and I will answer any questions that you might have on this one.
I've got one
Okay,
quick
Gene.
statement for you. I talked to Chris Browder this evening to see if he had any updates on that well motor, and he has not heard anything back yet.
Thank you, Gene.
Thank you, Gene. Yes, sir.
I have a question for Don. Okay, we're switching over from a Delta system to a Y. What kind of horsepower motors are we having in this well?
100 horsepower.
What's the maximum ampacity on that motor?
The motor nameplate is 131 amps.
Okay. I'm just curious as to that information to know, because I am an electrician by trade, and understanding what we're looking at as far as the 900-foot cable to run this motor, as far as what size wires in that cable. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. McGurr?
I'll make a motion.
You're
if
going to
you
make a motion? All right, sir.
I move that we approve the city administrator to authorize the updated quote from Jurgensen Pump in an amount of 142, furthermore, approve the city administrator to engage with Wallace Electrical to complete recommendations and repairs in an amount not to exceed $6,000.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Wiggins?
I got a question, I got a statement for you too, real quick.
Okay, yes, sir.
So if we hear back from Franklin that they're gonna warranty that motor, we will get credit for the cost of that motor, just so y'all are aware.
Yeah,
Okay.
All right.
all right. Okay, we have a motion and a second, and all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen, ladies. All right. Number 7.
Don, we appreciate you coming out.
Yes, thank you very, very much, and very much. I enjoyed going out there at the well with you guys, and it's, you know, of course, a lot of people didn't get to. All right, number 7, proposal for engineering service. Falls County Water Main Improvement Phase 1. Council to discuss, consider, and possibly take action to approve the city administrator to enter into a proposal for professional engineering services for the upgrade of existing 1.5-inch water main to a minimum of 8-inch diameter water main along FM 1239, the connection of water main from CR 440 to CR 449, and a crossing improvement over Hula, is that saying that right? Hula Creek along CR 440. Okay?
Mayor, Mr. Armin Hunt's going to present on this one.
Yes, he is.
Sorry. Armin, you have a laser pointer up there
I
at
was waiting to see.
the podium if you need anything.
I thought you was fixing to speak.
No, ma'am, not
Okay.
on this one.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, so this proposal is for the phase 1, which is this red line portion here. And the proposal, this says 6 inch, this is a older image anyways. So this phase 1 here is being proposed for a minimum 8 inch. We're gonna discuss that in the preliminary phase with you guys, determine the actual best line size for the future growth in the area we can come up with. And then the
Hula.
crossing
Oh, yeah.
is I think it's a 1.5 to 2 inch line right here, and it's just exposed over the top of some culverts right there, so we're gonna pull that off on each side and then have to do a bore underneath and encase it right there to get rid of that problem, so that way it won't freeze in the winter or give me any problems like that. And then obviously this portion over here is the phase 2, and as discussed with y'all previously, kind of as developments come in, see if we can't get some help with funding to improve those mains, help that area in the future.
Okay.
And once this is installed, according to our water model, we will be in compliance with 35 PSI minimum, and we'll be able to look into opening up meters on a meter by meter basis for meters in the Falls County portion of those water systems.
Yes,
So
sir.
we can lift the meter moratorium there.
Okay. All right.
Now,
Is there any questions?
Armin, on this one,
Oh.
so you're saying that potentially after just getting this one line upgraded alone, we could potentially have the ability to remove the water meter moratorium. Does the well not come into play with the pumping capacity as well?
So TCQ has 2 ways to look at it. So if you don't have, I think it's 100 gallons of elevated storage capacity per customer in this pressure plant, which y'all currently do not have, then you're required to have 2 gallons per minute of pumping capacity per customer meter, which is not met. But here's their stipulation: if you have over 1,000 gallons per minute of pumping capacity, the engineer can, recommend.
Case by case? Case by case, okay.
So it's kind of a.
And that's without the well. Okay? Mr. Talbert?
You may.
Is that phase 2, is that 451?
I'm not the best at these road names. Is this 450?
Yeah,
That's
across
correct.
from Channel 6. Yeah, okay. And then that'll loop around and it'll tie back into 440, 449 back in there.
All right. Any other questions?
Thank you.
No more questions?
I've got a couple more statements for you, Mayor.
Okay.
So this is priority one. We'll just talk a little bit about the budget and costs. Right now, MRB is estimating that we're looking at about $1.1 million just for priority one. This is not including any wells. This isn't including priority number two. 2023, 2024 are budgeted numbers. We had about $725,000 budgeted for construction. We had about $85,000 for planning and engineering. We've spent already about $14,000 so far, mostly on the new water well feasibility study. And just to note, we still have that grant on standby that does need to get spent over this next year. That's $420,000. That would mean that we have about $691,000 that we're going to need to either pull from reserves or that we would need to finance. So my recommendation on this one, we actually have Samco coming out at the beginning of January to give a presentation. I'm going to be recommending that he be appointed as our financial advisor, and he could potentially give us some different paths that we could take to finance this in a way that's not going to, hurt us in the long run. That's going to be synergistic to our other projects, and maybe we can look at taking out a revenue bond or something like that for all of our projects together and draw that down as needed. So that's just my suggestion on that one.
All right. Do we have anybody want to take a motion on this to, because it says council to discuss, consider, and possibly take action to approve the city administrator to enter into a proposal for professional engineering services for the upgrade of existing 1.5-inch water main to a minimum of 8-inch. So is there any, in other words, for phase one, basically?
What, the compensation, is this what it is? Here, 144,000?
Armin, that was 144,000 for the design portion of this project, correct? That's
some of that is for construction.
Some of that is construction administration.
Temporary, checking on site, making sure quantities are correct for all your pay requests, closeout documents, that type of stuff.
But essentially, all this goes to MRB Group for them facilitating the construction of this project. It does not include the actual construction costs. Those will have to all be sent out to bid.
Correct.
Well, this is part of the bidding. The way I'm reading this is basic engineering services, 18,000. Design, 90,000. Bidding, 8,500. Construction administration, 27,500. So total 144.
Correct.
So that's when we're talking about, Mayor, when we're talking about approving the city administrator to enter into a proposal for professional engineering services. That's what you're talking about, right? In other words, for him to agree, for us to agree for him to enter into this agreement for 144,000. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to be clear.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move that we approve the city administrator to enter into a proposal for professional engineering services for the upgrade of existing 1.5-inch water main to a minimum 8-inch diameter water main along FM 1239. The connection of water mains from County Road 440 to County Road 449, and a crossing improvement over Julia Creek along County Road 440.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Grant, Mr. Griffin? Okay, all in favor? Unanimous. You got it.
Thank you so much, Armin.
Thank you for coming out.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. All right, now we're going to have the engineering report.
So, Mayor, Council, you have your engineering reports from MRB. If you have any questions about that, I can certainly answer them, or maybe Armin wouldn't mind hanging around for just a few more minutes if you have a question on the engineering report.
All right, do we have any questions for our, do we have any questions about the engineer report? No, don't look like it.
I'll throw out two comments real quick on the engineering report. So we were supposed to get a presentation tonight on the well feasibility and the site selection for that one. However, there was an injury at the firm, and that has delayed things just a little bit, but they plan on getting that to you in January.
Yeah, so we have received the hydrogeologist report for the well on the 3 different sites, and we are gonna take his recommendations and compare them with ours based on location on what would be better for the city of Bruceville-Eddy, and then make an engineering recommendation on a location. And unfortunately, decorating a Christmas tree can be very dangerous. If you miss your bottom step, you may fall and.
Yeah, she broke her vertebrae.
Yeah, it was what you call it, a fractured one of her vertebrae, so she's
Fractured,
kind of,
yeah.
she's been out, not been able to get to the office, so. But
Wearing
hopefully
her
next
little
month.
halo.
Yeah,
Brace.
she's in charge of that project, so I'm kind of helping her take care of some of her other items that she's.
Well, we appreciate
Yeah,
it.
so.
We appreciate it.
And then Mayor, one more note on that one. Pam has already done the easements and has the letters prepared to send out for
Yes.
that phase 1 project. So we're ready to go. Oh, okay.
They went
they've
out in the
already
mail
been mailed
today.
out so.
Wonderful. Woo-hoo! Pam's on the ball now, let me tell you.
Sure.
Any more questions or anything before
Yes.
we move on?
Well,
Okay, got one?
that mainly, that's what I want. Because there's people that can't see this.
Yes, sir, that's true.
The highlighted in orange?
In orange, sir?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
And what it has to do with is
Oh, okay.
You betcha. So talking about the timeline for the phase 1
Falls County.
Falls County project.
Okay.
So this project, if everything goes according to plan, we're able to secure all the easements, we're able to have a successful bid on this, we're probably looking at about 8 months or a completion date of November of 2024.
All right, thank you. All right. Okay. Move right along, okay. Chief Dorsey, you have a report? And thank you again for coming out. We'll let you go home. We'll let you go home. We won't stop you again. You too. Have a Merry Christmas.
All right, thank you, Mayor. All right, I would like to start with our police department report for November of 2023. For the month of November, we had a total of 106 calls for service. For reports to include arrest, offense, and incident, a total of 6. Crash reports, a total of 7. Citations and warning total, 136, 52 citations, 84 warnings. Some of our other activities for the month, security checks, 132, school zone enforcement, 17, neighborhood patrols, 62, and directed traffic enforcement, 28. And I try to have our numbers as accurate as possible on these activities. They have to manually be logged into the computer, so I try to remind the officers to do the best they can on logging activities so we can have an accurate number. So it could possibly be a little bit more, but I can only go by what we have on paper, so. All right, and then also in the monthly report, I have our call type report breakdown and also our citation and warning breakdown for the month. Then I'd also like to give the school resource officer report for the month of November. Officer Steiner, she had a total of 5 calls for service, 93 security checks, and we had 1 canine check at the school for the month. And then she also has her activity breakdown. I think that's it. All right, that's all for reports. The only other thing I was going to bring up was our Be Safe group, our Be Safe Group Me, the community group. We're up to 38 members currently. It seems like we gain every time I put a blast out on Savvy Citizen. That seems to draw new members. That's normally when new members sign up, but we are up to 38. So quite a jump from what we had in the beginning. So that is a good thing. There has been some activity on that group, and I appreciate anybody involved in that. I think it's a good thing, and hopefully we can gain some more members. And then also just a quick reminder for my evals, my annual evals, just turn them in when you can, because I do appreciate your feedback and any comments and concerns or what you'd like to see us do better, or whatever we can do to improve. So I definitely, take those, and I appreciate them. So, thank you.
Okay. Wasn't it this month also that Sergeant Martinez was injured? Upon
Yes, ma'am.
I-35.
Yeah, it was, yes, ma'am. Yeah, earlier in November, Martinez was out on a call on the interstate, and he was assisting a stranded motorist. It was a truck. The best way I can describe it, it looked like a cab over truck and like a landscape trailer that had like the high metal rails on the back. And the truck was empty, but they ran out of gas, and they were also in a bad spot because not only were they on the side of 35, but they were on a bridge on southbound around 318 mile marker. And so there wasn't a whole lot of shoulder because of the bridge. So Martinez went out there, and he was partially blocking the right lane so the gentleman could get out and refuel his truck, so that way he wouldn't get hit by a car. And unfortunately, there was a lady that wasn't paying attention and shouldn't have even been driving in the first place due to other reasons, but she ended up crashing into the side of his patrol car.
Yeah.
And most importantly, he wasn't seriously injured. He just got banged up a little bit. He got, I think, kind of jarred to the left, and so where his holster sits, it hit the center console, and so it jammed his holster into his hip and caused some discomfort and maybe a slight minor injury, but nothing major. He walked away from it.
Yes, thank God.
Got checked out, could come back to work without any restriction or anything like that. So that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Cars can be replaced, people can't.
Amen.
So thankfully, he wasn't trying to get out of his car or standing by his car. But the lady that hit him she even admitted to me on scene that she wasn't paying attention. And not only that, but the car was parked, all the lights were on, and she still managed to hit him. And so our car, his Ford Explorer, did take a pretty hard hit.
Yeah.
Luckily, thankfully, it is repairable. So it's in the body shop right now. It should be finished hopefully by the end of January. And then we have everything else, all the other replacement parts that have to be done from other places, all that's on order. So hopefully as soon as it's out of the body shop and go to the next shop, get the graphics put back on it, and then go down to Round Rock and get everything ballistic-wise put back in it, because all that's already on order.
Well, just let Mr. Sergeant Martinez know that he was, we're so glad he's okay. I just wanted people to know that.
Right. Yeah, that's the main thing. He was okay. He walked away from it, and he went home safe at the end of the day. That's the main thing.
Yes, sir.
So,
Thank you.
and the other driver wasn't injured.
Right.
So I'm glad she's okay as well. So at the end of the day, it was a good day. Everybody walked away from it. So.
Amen. Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Yeah, any more on your reports? If
No, ma'am.
not, we'll go to 10. Oath of office, Chief Michael Dorsey.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. I would like to formally introduce our newest reserve officer. His name is Carlos Ozuna. He used to work with and is friends with one of our former officers, Christopher Roman, so that's how him and I became acquainted through him. But he's coming to us with about 4 years of law enforcement experience. He's a fluent Spanish speaker, where I am not. So, yeah, Google Translator is my Spanish. So he is coming to us with quite a bit of experience. He is excited to serve our citizens and our community and be a part of our department. So I'm looking forward to having him, and he is going to participate in our Blue Santa, so he'll be here on Saturday to help out and be a part of that. So looking forward to that as well. So at this time, I'll ask him to come up and
I, Carlos Ozuna,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of police officer
the duty of a police officer
for the state of Texas
for the state of Texas
and the city of Bruceville-Eddy,
and the city of Bruceville-Eddy,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the constitutional laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state
and of the state
and of the city.
and of the city.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. Okay. Is that everything you have, Chief?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you very much. All right, now we are going to get the Public Works Director, Gene.
Yes. Okay. So, everybody should have a copy of the report where we fixed 9 leaks in October and 12 last month. And it reflected, some on our water loss, and I was asked about that. Thinking about it, because the water loss last month was lower than what it was this month reported, Blue Bonnet water meter had malfunction. The head of it wasn't registering. So we weren't getting those numbers to be able to reflect the accurate water loss for that month. That's why it was a lot lower than it was this month. So they've got it fixed. So now we're gonna be getting a higher bill, I think. But yeah. That's all I got. They're repairing the fences at the shop, getting that taken care of. They started that work today. And hopefully by next week, that'll be all fixed and back good to go.
All right, good.
Any questions for me?
Any questions? Mr. Wiggins?
On the street repairs, when I look at it, I noticed that we didn't do any for the month of January, April, June, July, and September, 5 months.
Yes, it's actually on our work order list. The street repairs, I'd have to go back in and get a copy of the work orders. But like Hungry Hill, we had a work order to patch. Horseshoe Bend, we had a work order to patch. And so those got turned in and recorded as streets on the work orders.
Okay, I guess my point is that, a good while back, years ago, the council voted for you to do street repairs monthly. you know, even if it's just one day, just a month. But on this report that I have, it doesn't show any for the months of January, April, June, July, and September.
January,
2023.
2023. Okay. We, at one point, we didn't have the budget to do patching. And we were in the process of getting the rock asphalt. And then when that budget ran out, we would say, you know, we had to wait until the new budget come in. And we probably, I don't know how much we've used already this year.
We're probably at about $14,000 just on
Yeah.
the rock asphalt
Right.
year to date. So
Yeah.
while that report doesn't reflect the streets that we've been proactively doing, because we haven't been proactively doing it. Just been responding to requests. The school district had several requests. Eagle Drive, I think they put 3 totes alone just on Eagle Drive. So there's been work doing, but Mr. Wiggins, if I'm understanding you, you'd like to see even the street repairs that we're doing on the work orders added to this report? Is that what I'm kind of gathering from you?
Yeah, are we not?
No, the way we've kind of been looking at that list there is, like you said, when the guys are down, we have extra material, and we just need to get out there and proactively look for potholes and fill those, then we'll add that to that list. Otherwise, we're just responding to requests from citizens, hey, there's a pothole here, come out, and that's when it's included on the work order.
Right.
But I think anytime we repair a street, it needs to be on this list, because then it's transparent for the people to know, because this list is put out on our website, correctly? Correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It'll be on the
Yes.
agenda.
And to your point, as far as the budget, we run out of money. We wasn't out of money in January. Now, maybe September, yes, I'm sure we were out of money.
Okay.
For the street repairs in September.
When did we start putting it on the tablet?
Well, it goes back to 22. This here, I don't know about the tablet. I'm just talking about this list that the council has furnished.
So in the,
Okay.
the
It
colder-
goes back to 2022.
Okay. In the wintertime, it's harder.
No,
We weren't using rock asphalt until recently. You can't get cold mix in the wintertime.
I understand.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, I'm not just talking
So-
about January only. This was 5 months.
Okay.
So, and I understand maybe in September, for the month of September, we were probably out of money on our budget as far as buying any. I got that.
Right.
But some of these other months, April, June, July, you know, so, you know, anytime we do street repair, let's put it on this list. And that way, at least the people are seeing that, you know, hey, they did street repair in April, they did some in May and June, even though it's not on our list. Because if it's not on this list, does any other council member know whether we did it? I don't.
Well, if you drive down the road, you know.
Well, I don't know when you did it. Yeah, but that's all I'm asking. Yeah,
Thank you, Gene.
yeah. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Community Development Report, Mr. Thomas?
That's a tough act to follow. All right, so for the month of November, we started the month with 68 cases. I closed 17, started 5. Currently active at this point in time, or at the end of November, we had 56. During the month of November, I had 9 office visits, 6 verbal notices or door hangers, 2 police assist cases, animal abuse and dangerous dog, and 1 McLennan County assist case with the septic out on Horseshoe Bend. Number and types of cases closed, 7 rubbish, 10 high grass. Number and types of cases in court. We currently have, during the month of November, we had 2 cases for high grass and weeds, 2 cases for dogs at large, and 2 dangerous dog cases in court for that month. Number and types of cases currently open, or at the end of November, We had that I opened, 1 rubbish, 3 high grass, 1 cargo container. Number of permits issued and typed, we had 15 permits, 1 garage, 8 burn, 2 carports, 1 accessory building, 1 commercial electrical, 1 demo, and 1 single-family resident. Number of inspections that I had for that month were 13, 1 for a temporary pole, 8 burn, 1 plumbing rough, 1 single-family resident addition, 1 demo, and 1 carport. Anybody have any questions for community development?
Thank you,
Thank
Thomas.
y'all very much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
point of order.
Yes, sir.
Could we take a little short break
Sure.
before we
All right.
start? His report probably gonna be pretty late.
It is now 8:03, and we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back. Stretch our legs.
Maybe up here, we may be.
Okay, and we are going to, city administrators report.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Okay, on the first item here, we've got the Renee Bates auction. So we came out on top to about a tune of $6,200. Not all of our lots were sold, but we got 5 out of 6 of them. Just a heads up, Encore is going to be in the area. They're going to be performing some vegetation maintenance. So if you live inside our core city limits of Eddy or portions of Falls County, Wright Tree Service, that's Wright with a W, will be performing the work in early January. So they're going to hand out a typical door hanger as part of their notification process. Texas Municipal League Region 9 meeting. So we have been honored to be selected as the next hosts of Region 9's meeting on February the 8th, 2024. This will take place here at City Hall. TML President Tito Rodriguez will be our speaking guest. We're going to be talking a little bit about infrastructure. This one's not going to be open to the public. This one's just going to be for council members and elected officials throughout the region to come. And it's more or less an event for training and for promotion and networking for those folks. I'll send out some more information to the mayor and council on that one. Update on the animal livestock ordinance update. We had a meeting on the 26th of October. We discussed some revisions to the animal control section of our ordinances. After this, I reached out to TML Legal, and they told me to pump the brakes on this one. They said, hey, you probably want to check with your city attorney on this one. On the ballot in November, we actually had a constitutional amendment that further protected the rights of people to farm. And there really hasn't been any clear litigation or definitions on exactly what that means. So they just said, check with your city attorney before you start passing any new rules or changes to your existing livestock or animal ordinances. 2022-2023 fiscal year audit is being wrapped up now. I expect to get you a comprehensive financial statements in the month of January. Adam said he'll be out to present on that as well. On the sewer system, I think we pretty much touched base on just about everything with the exception of the Union Pacific crossing permits. Council did make a motion at their last meeting to have this on tonight's agenda. However, with Councilmember Prater being absent, we wanted to push that into January. So we're looking into the request that was made by council, and we hope to have some more information at that meeting. On the water system, just a heads up, Blue Bonnet, I think we mentioned it at our November meeting, they're going to have a clarifier down. And so we're going to be taking a lot less water from Blue Bonnet. And with 2 wells currently being down, we're going to really need the help from the public to reduce our demand going out to the system in order to just keep the water flowing. So we'll know a little bit more information at the beginning of January, but you'll see some savvy citizen messaging coming out from that. It's going to be the week of January 8th where we really need the biggest help. Skip a few things here. On the development front, so the mayor and I, we held a meeting with a local resident that was looking to establish a restaurant in the area. We facilitated contact information, provided potential locations for that, and just answered questions to the best of our ability. On January the 11th, we have K-Bar. They will be presenting a preliminary plat for council's review. MRB has resolved all the comments on that one, so more to come. I did receive an update on the BE Travel Center, or the Ascent Travel Center. Lee Lingenfelter with MRB Group finished the review. This is probably the 4th review of construction plans and the preliminary plat. I'm sorry, just the construction plans and the final plat that they're working on. We're still looking at about 1.5 pages of comments on that one, so there still seems to be a bit of disconnect between what the ordinances and our building codes say about construction. They have a meeting planned for tomorrow to hopefully resolve any issues with that. So no updates on the timelines for that travel center yet. Councilmember McLaughlin. I wish I had a little bit more information for you, but it's kind of a slow go. Okay, and then lastly here, I talked a little bit to council about Manufactured Home Park on 4th Street. We had a agent of a property owner over there asking some information about what that zoning process looks like. He did submit that to us yesterday, 12/20. So I'll be working through the process of getting the notifications published in the newspaper with Pam, and we'll probably have that before you at our February meeting.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manton.
You're welcome.
Okay, what I was lip syncing here to you was somebody said that they heard when we had the meet the candidates that they would like to have a good Mexican food restaurant here. So that was the restaurant that they're trying to look to put in somewhere. So, so see, you did do good. Yeah. All right, moving right along. Okay, on the consent agenda, all items listed on the consent agenda will be considered by the city council and will be enacted on by one motion. There will be no separate discussions of these items unless a council member or a member of the public so request. A, approval of the minutes, financing and appointments to Infrastructure Planning Committee, and then that's it. Does anybody have anything they want to pass out, or y'all want to make a motion to accept them? Mr. Wiggins?
Okay. I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, Mrs. McLaughlin? Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate it. All right, moving right along. Number 15, vehicle purchase. Public Works Director Gene Sprout, at the request of the Budget Committee, council to discuss, consider, and possibly take action on the purchase of a truck for the Public Works Department in the amount not to exceed $62,000 using the budget funds from the general fund of 10-30-6914 fixed asset purchases. Gene?
Yes, so I've been doing a lot of searching. We have sold one truck already, it's gone. They've already picked it up through Renee Bates. And the only truck that I could find available with a utility bed is a crew cab. I did not want a crew cab, but that's the only one in Texas pretty much that I could find. I think everybody may have a picture of it in their packet.
And how about it's on the screen up here?
Okay, that's the truck, but it's just the chassis and cab, not a bed on it. They ordered the bed, they ordered just a chassis, and then they pay to put that bed on the back of it. And that's just like the one that we've already got for the water. This is gonna be for the maintenance department, but he'll be able to utilize water parts on that truck also. So we've got two trucks with parts on it. They don't have to come back to the shop to pick up parts all the time.
Okay. Do we have any questions? Mr. Wiggins? I see you pulling your mic. That's the reason I
Yes,
asked.
ma'am. No, I was just I'll make a motion that we purchase a truck for the Public Works Department in the amount not to exceed $62,000 using budgeted funds from the general fund 10-30-6914 fixed asset purchase.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Graham McGruer. Okay, all in favor? Unanimous? Okay, Gene.
And FYI, it does, when I talked to the Ford company, it's the same one where we got the existing Ford that Johnny's driving. They are under contract with Buy Board now. So we got the Buy Board discount and all with that.
Good.
And he made it happen. He hid the truck for the last 2 weeks so they wouldn't sell it before
Good.
we were able to have the meeting tonight.
All right, well, good, all
All
right.
right.
Thank you, Gene. Animal abandonment ordinance. Chief Michael Dorsey. Council discuss and consider and possibly take action on ordinance 12-21-2023-1, amending the code of ordinance of the city of Bruceville-Eddy by the creation of a new offense relating to the abandonment of animals within the city limits. So, Chief?
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
So on this ordinance, Mr. Manton's assisted quite a bit in getting this ready, so thank you, sir. Appreciate that. We also ran it by our city attorney as well, as far as adopting and.
I don't believe this one has gone before the city attorney. No.
I might be I'll have to look, but I know we are, you know what, I did ask someone for examples of ordinances and then what we were trying to do with this one. So there was some communication, but.
Good to go.
So I think that's what I was thinking of. But basically, it's just in addition to the ordinance we have now, with the addition of adding a penalty for abandoning an animal, because already in Texas state law there is under cruelty to non-livestock and livestock animals, abandonment of an animal could be considered cruelty to animals. So it already is a higher level misdemeanor offense, but by doing this addition to the ordinance with the fine, basically a fine-only offense, would give us the ability to cite people that break this ordinance for abandoning an animal, because you know, when something happens along this nature, you know, it's going to be a case-by-case basis, and I can't confidently say that, you know, every time in every situation, you know, that an animal's abandoned may not result in an arrest. It could, but I don't think it's right to say that every case would. So this gives us another tool and the ability to, you know, if we don't make an arrest or whatever the situation is, then this would allow us to, you know, cite someone for this offense, and it'll still, you know, have to be taken care of in municipal court. But it's still a way, and hopefully will be a deterrent for those that, you know, abandon animals. So.
Good. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Council, do y'all have any questions for
There's
Chief
so
Dorsey?
many people out there that do abandon their animals.
Oh, I
And
will
abuse
add real quick, in this ordinance that each animal will be a separate, so if you have 5 animals, you could potentially be charged 5 times, as well as every day that a violation exists will constitute a new offense as well.
Yeah.
So they could be cited per animal per day.
Do we have any questions? Mr. Wiggins?
If someone abandons an animal, and obviously then the fine would start then up to $500 a day, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When would that end? Would it end like, in other words, I mean, if you find a person, obviously, then if it was he abandoned it on day 1, and now you found that person on day 10, and you know, he gets that dog because it's abandoned. Now, probably we would take it, or somebody would take it if we find it, obviously. Then it would go till that day 10, is that right? Would that be right?
I don't think so. It would, because normally, you know, we get called to these situations when someone reports them or we observe them, but when that takes place, more than likely, you know, if it's a dog, the city will temporarily take custody of it while we try to locate the owner or rehome it, or it has to go to court, and then the judge orders that it be fostered or adopted or what have you. But I think once that animal's been picked up is when it's going to stop. And whoever that may be. So while the animals, more than likely it'll just be, a one-day thing, but that's in there just in case. But when the animal's picked up, it'll stop.
Yeah, one be kind of like an abuse case. That person is charged so much per day until the judge releases it to us. Isn't that correct? Okay.
I think that as I read the verbiage in here, it says abandon includes abandoning an animal in the person's custody without making reasonable arrangements for assumption of custody by another person. Once we seize that animal, those arrangements have been made. So that would end the number of days for a fine. So it wouldn't go up to $1 million. Okay, so I think in that case, then it'd be $500 per animal per day until we seize the animal. And reasonably, when we see an animal suffering or the life of the animal's in danger, we would seize the animal under that stipulation. And so therefore, that would end the abandonment of that animal.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. So do I have a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion, I think.
For ordinance 12-21-2023-1.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay, number 16.
Okay. I make a motion that we update and add certain definitions and language to City of Bruceville-Eddy ordinance number 12-21-2023-1. Amendments to Chapter 2 of the Animal Control section of our laws.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll make a second.
Okay. Joyce? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Chief. You got it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Number 17. Discussion and consideration increasing local homestead exemption. Council will discuss and consider and possibly take action on a potential increase to the local homestead exemption. Receive a presentation from the city administrator on the financial ramification of said charges and provide staff with further directions on the manner.
Thank you, Mayor.
Did I
No,
mess
you're
up
good.
something?
You're good.
Okay.
We're rocking. We're rolling here. I think everybody's excited to hear a little bit about maybe some tax relief on their homestead, right?
Oh, me, I am. Yes.
So this was actually a citizen request, council member request. They wanted to see, just what we could potentially do with our current homestead exemptions. And so I just gathered some information from Falls and McLennan County, Falls and McLennan CAD. And so what you see before you here on the slide, this is our current rate. So this is what a taxpayer is going to see on their tax bill. You've got the city, you've got the ISD, you've got McLennan County, you've got the community college. And you'll see in these two middle rows is the homestead only. So that's for anybody who has a homestead. And then on the second row is a homestead plus you're over the age of 65. So in the city of Bruceville-Eddy, everybody who has a homestead and they're over the age of 65 gets a $10,000 exemption on their taxes. Just to note, you'll look at the difference between the ISD and the city. That's pretty typical in general, that there's always been a higher standard exemption for property taxes from a school district. However, the voters just approved a constitutional amendment in November to increase that to $100,000. So just on the front end, everybody's going to be seeing, or everybody should be seeing, a little bit of savings on their homestead exemption this current cycle. So this is a comparison of our current rate to others in McLennan County. So you'll see up here, Bruceville-Eddy, we have that 10,000 for the over 65. City of Lorena offers no local homestead exemptions. City of Moody has a $5,000 for over 65. City of Riesel has 10% with a minimum of 5,000 on each. City of West, none. City of Mart, none. City of Crawford, they're actually the only one who's really beaten us here as far as the standard amount, and that's a 12,000 homestead, but that's only for those over 65. And the City of Galinda, none. So you could say we're probably one of the higher offerings for our local homestead exemption for those over 65. So this is kind of, what would this look like as far as our budget goes? So I got this from the chief appraiser, and he provided this information. This is an estimate, right? But based on our current levy of that 46 cents per $100, we're looking at this number here is what we currently levy on this current tax cycle. If we were to increase the homestead exemption for everybody, we would probably be dropping about $40,000 in revenue there. And then if you increase that 10%, 20%, you'll see that it drops down as well. So just a couple notes on this one as we begin our discussion. Appraisals are actually probably going to be leveling off a little bit. We've seen astronomical numbers these last couple years, 20%, 18% appraisal increases. We should probably see this level off just a little bit with the demand for housing slowing due to those increasing interest rates that we saw this past year. I already mentioned that school property tax compression that's resulted in the relief for all the property owners. And then just some numbers down here for you. So we have 337 homesteads in McLennan County. Falls County, 0. So any change that we make needs to be done by an ordinance at a future date. In general, every 1% of homestead exemption given is going to lose about $2,700 in property tax revenue. I would suggest any ordinance that we do not go into effect until at least January 1st, 2025 to allow us to plan for the next budget cycle accordingly. And then just keep in mind that while it's all good to want to offer tax exemptions, this does have some impact on our ability to continue to leverage this tax base for infrastructure funding in the future. So with that, I'll open it up for discussion.
Anybody have any questions? None? Okay. All right.
Well, with that, Mayor, did the council want to give me a little bit more direction? Should I bring back some sort of ordinance for consideration, or do we want to kind of move away from this for the time being and postpone it?
Wait until.
You know what, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to move that the city administrator come back to the council with an ordinance reflecting the increase in property tax exemption for us to review and possibly take action on at that time.
I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. Griffin? Okay, all in favor?
Okay.
Unanimous. Okay, thank you. All right, it is now, let's see, what time is it? It is now 8:35 and this meeting is closed. We're going to go into executive session and, consulting with the city attorney regarding unauthorized water connections.
And that is pursuant to Texas Government Code 551071.
Yes. All right, we're going to go in there and we'll be back shortly. Well, it depends on how much fussing and discussing we have to do, but.
Take your little nap.
You know how attorneys are. Yeah, I know, it's me too. Me too.
Almost.
At least go get in front of the TV and fall asleep.
Yes.
I know, I'm missing my shows.
Okay.
Mike's on.
Okay. It is now 9:17, and our agenda, our council meeting is now back in session from our executive session. Okay. So, does anybody have anything to say? We'll just do no action taken from our executive session for tonight.
That works.
Is that right? No action taken for our
Right.
executive session. Okay? Now,
Actually, Mayor, can we make it table the issue instead of no action taken? Would that be the better thing to do?
I think just no action taken is
no
probably.
action
No action
taken.
taken
Yeah.
sounds good to me.
Yeah. Just no action
Just
taken.
thought I'd throw it out there.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, now number, possible action, no action was taken. So number 19.
I move that we adjourn and
Okay.
go home.
Second.
Okay.
I beat you.
Mr. Graham seconded. It is now 9:18 and this meeting is over.
And the 5 minutes begins now.
Yeah.
Well, not for me. I've got to get my little fingerprint done and all that.
Oh, that's right. She's gonna get you fingerprinted in
Yeah, I get fingerprinted.
by the chief.
Let's see. Okay, that goes.